Let's see. I should really work on my Miu Iruma and Kokushiba videos soon. But I really want to work on something a little bit different so I have time to read Demon Slayer. So, what should I do between that?
Just get to the fucking point!
Hey! Shut up! Wait.
That'll work.
Hey guys, before I start the video, I also wanted to mention that I have a Twitch account, and I haven't been posting there very often because I've just been a bit busy, but I plan to start streaming Neo: The World Ends With You whenever it comes out, and I have a link above for my Instagram so that you guys know whenever I start to stream, since I don't have a community tab. And I also have the link to my Twitch channel, so if you guys want to follow and, join and everything, and maybe watch too, it'd be really cool. I think it'd be really nice just to, talk to you guys more, because I know I don't post a whole lot because these videos take a while to get out. So it'd just be really awesome, and it's just if you guys want to, and it's be cool. So thank you guys. So anyway, on to the video. So Danganronpa has kind of re-exploded in popularity recently, and as it is one of, if not my favorite series ever, aside from maybe Kingdom Hearts, it made me want to revisit the games and even share it with others. Something odd about my experience with the series is my first game was actually V3. Yeah, weird place to start, though the person introducing me to it hadn't beat the game yet, and was under the impression it didn't connect to the other two games. Oops. But because this was my first game, I think it may have introduced a perspective for me that I don't think many people could have if they played the previous games, possibly. Danganronpa is a series that subverts expectations, and not in a way that people have been applying subversive storytelling with. It is actually one of the good ways that media subverts expectations, in my opinion. But there is one character who subverted my expectations that I'm almost positive was unintentional. That character being the gorgeous girl genius herself, Miu Iruma. I will admit, this video will likely be very opinionated and experience-based, but given that Iruma is one of the most popular characters in V3, and the only people I've seen complain about her mainly hate her for trying to kill Kokichi, so I feel that some people may agree with me. Whenever I made my top Danganronpa list in the whole series for characters, I ranked Iruma at number 14 out of 49 characters. That may seem pretty high to some people for a comic relief character for the most part, who doesn't go through a big character development arc. But Miu really was a special character to me in a lot of ways. Let me start from the beginning. Iruma is introduced as a typical bully at first glance. Well, kinda. At first glance, I felt that her portrayal as a bully was a bit nuanced to me, as when people bully her back, she gets upset and defensive, which if you look at most bullies in real life and in a lot of media, they are insecure people who end up projecting more often than not to protect their ego or have a safe place that may not be elsewhere, like at home. Iruma crosses quite a few lines in her bullying, but hey, so does Bakugo telling Midoriya to jump off a roof, and Iruma doesn't tell anyone to kill himself, surprisingly. And look at them being the most loved character. Iruma to me was just a new stereotype for bullies with nothing is wrong with. Something I should admit about myself is a character who can make me laugh is usually one I adore the most in a gamer story. Some don't apply, such as Hyoko Saionji in Danganronpa 2 for me personally, as I just didn't like how much she targeted Mikon, which, sure, she was mean to everyone like Miu is, but I personally just found so much of it mean-spirited, while Miu is hard to take seriously, so she just doesn't hit the same spot for me like she does for some people who like her. You can argue that she targets Kokichi a lot, but the thing is, Kokichi fights back with 10 times the rudeness, but that's what makes them such a great dynamic duo. After Trial 1, I looked forward to interactions between the two characters. But as Trial 2 and 3 happened, I noticed something that I tried to keep it out of the forefront of my mind. Characters I generally liked were the only ones left, and the ones left that I didn't like were likely not dying soon, or I forgot that they existed. Originally, I felt that the one at the bottom of the list of people I generally wanted to keep alive, not counting certain people I forgot, was Iruma. Himiko hadn't annoyed me just yet. And lo and behold, Miu Iruma was who was the victim, and was who I thought at the time was the lesser of the evils. Then Samudi started talking.
Boo! You stink!
Joking aside, did I care much at first? No, not exactly. I realized very early on who the killer would be based on the cords used in the headset, and was not looking forward to that. I'm not a huge Ganta fan, but it was clear how heartbroken I would be from this trial. I played this game in a week and was still recovering from the death of Kaide. I want to explain why, because it does play a factor into what caused my feelings for Miu to evolve. Kaide is someone I connected to immediately for the same reason Shuichi does. As a very introverted person, I often connect to more extroverted and confident people and characters, Kaide being one of them. When she died, I don't think I fully comprehended it at first. I wasn't upset or angry. I played the game, but it hit me a bit later how sad I was not having Kaide there. I love Shuichi, but I missed Kaide with all my heart after it sank in that she was gone. I missed her banter with other characters, her facial reactions since V3, they show her sprites during social dialogue, her fun humor, and her go-to attitude. This is likely why I was attracted to Kokichi and Kaito as characters after this, as they were also more extroverted, and while Kaito was optimistic to an idiotic degree, Kokichi was blunt to a fault that caused him to come off as too logical and emotionless, unless you read between his lies well. And I'll put a video by Weeby News in the description for everyone to look at, because she does a really good video on Kokichi, and is, she has her own interpretations of his lies that are pretty interesting of a watch if you want to watch it. Also, she does one on Kaito that I really, really love a lot, and just her videos in general are really good, so you should definitely check her out. But wait, this is about Iruma, right? Well, to be honest, I didn't have many feelings when she passed at first, much like Kaide. It took a moment for it to sink in for me, but unlike Kaide, Miu was the victim, so that moment hit me like a truck when the trial started. I was not prepared for how soul-crushing this was about to be, especially if you take into account who my favorite characters are in V3. This whole trial, you were forced to disagree with Kaito on every front. You have to condemn someone who doesn't even remember killing anybody, and is the most innocent character possibly in the whole franchise. You come to terms that once again, your favorite character is probably insane. Okay, I'm projecting here when it comes to my favorite characters. But the thing about Trial 4 that makes it so rough for me is the lack of humor. Danganronpa has a habit of putting too much humor, which can commonly make things not be taken too seriously. However, V3's 4th trial is the most opposite of this you could possibly get. I'll be honest, Kokichi being the only funny one in this trial doesn't work for me personally, because it was obvious he had so much to do with this trial it wasn't even funny. The only thing that genuinely had me laughing this trial at all was,
Ooh, you so clumsy, girl.
maybe some other one-liners made some people laugh, as humor is a very subjective thing, unless you're talking about me, because nobody will ever find me funny. But this is when I realized how much I missed Miu. When Trial 4 was so full of the best voice acting in the whole series, someone blatantly missing whose voice acting and line delivery was incredible throughout was Miu. Was she a bit obnoxious, over the top, and crude? Yes. Yes, she was, and I honestly adore that. A lot of her humor I find to be great. A lot of comedians may try this approach to humor and fall flat on their faces, especially some vulgar ones, but Miu had a lot of people who spoke back to her, and seeing reactions to her outlandish behavior made her hilarious. Plus, how many people has anyone met who is outwardly as blunt and tells it like they see it as Iruma? Well, I have a habit of being blunt, but I still think about a person before I speak, because I'm not a confrontational person. But if I'm being asked something, I tend to always say things like I see them, which may be why I like Iruma's humor when she's rude. Not to say I'm mean to people or crude, just if I see something worth saying, I'll likely say it, and although I know other people may not find anything I say very funny, I have a habit of making myself chuckle, as Miu can make herself laugh at her own jokes as well, as annoying as that may be.
But where does that get us?
Like, why should we care? I mean, what if Miu killed Kokichi and he was dead and we have her humor, not his? Well, that would still suck. I'm not going to pretend Miu should have survived because honestly, I think her death was the turning point in solidifying my desire to play the other two games. It showed me how a character I originally wasn't super invested in could impact an entire story for me. Kokichi couldn't have died because, well, who would have caused Trial 5? There's nobody really left unless they did Trial 6 early, because by then nobody but Samugi and Kiba would be suspicious as masterminds. Unless Gonta took off his glasses and spoke in perfect sentence structure, revealing himself as the mastermind out of nowhere, which admittedly would be hilarious. There's nobody else, so there would just be no point of a 5th trial. Unless they repeated Trial 5 of the first game, but come on. How could they not do a new version of the second game's trial? Which, again, I hadn't seen prior to V3, so I wouldn't have considered that possible in the first place if Miu had been the culprit and killed Kokichi. Anyway, the point is, if we assume Miu did do such a thing and was blackened instead, well, we would have lost a great character in Trial 4, and Miu likely would not have been as funny, much like Kokichi, because nobody would likely bicker back at her, though makes me wonder how she would react having nobody talk down on her like Oma did, especially with how often they were with each other working on gadgets. Anyone remember Miu's likes? She likes children's cartoons because they are some of the most creative media and perfect for an inventor to watch for ideas. Kokichi is the most childish in the group with his pranks and his never-ending cycle of ideas for inventions for Iruma to do. Something I can't help but notice is Iruma's only inventions are either thought of by other people or already things that have been invented. She made the drone on her own, Shuichi and Kaide asked her for the cameras, and Kokichi thought up practically everything else. Although, if you do her free time events, she does have a box with an arm that'll punch anyone if they make a bad, dirty joke. Why would Iruma do this? Well, this may go back to her desire to avoid sleep. Iruma is known for her bad, dirty jokes, so why make something she knows will turn out badly for her unless she has a good reason? I think it's possibly a way to keep her up. You know, I'm pretty certain I said this wouldn't be an analysis, but I ended up getting carried away a bit. This has been sort of a rabbit hole for me. Pun intended, getting there in a minute. I originally wanted to discuss why she and Kokichi work so well together. Then it was why I love Miu Iruma. But then just discussing one thing I love about Miu opened up into so many boxes of V3 theories, as these tend to do, which I don't want to dive into because everyone has their own interpretations, but because of this, it's hard to explain my thoughts on Iruma. One thing I do think, based on her free times, is she may have likely have savant syndrome, or her fictional character may be meant to have it. Rather than get augmented human idea, basically some people, after suffering from trauma, such as a coma, can wake up being great at things even though they've never done that thing before. It's a rare occurrence, and it's likely to do with damage to the frontal lobe or another part of the brain that focuses on other parts to work harder. The frontal lobe also handles functioning that Iruma does seem to be lacking, like certain types of self-control, though if my theory that she has a fear of sleeping due to her coma is true, then there is likely still parts of it intact. When Gonta sees her naked, she obviously looks alarmed as well, which also makes me believe part of it would be intact, though I'm not positive if Kadaka meant to go that in depth with her or not. She mentions at one point she loves to drink coffee, I believe, in her Love Across the Universe date. She also says it helps her focus, and that could be a reason she seems so anxious, like she has to be doing something. Also, something I find interesting about Miu, and some of this is based on a video by Lady Virgia on her Fuka analysis from Persona 3, is in Japan, inventing, and technological type of jobs are actually considered to be more masculine. This is a big deal for Fuka in particular, as people make fun of her for having this hobby even though she's quite good at it. So when I think about that with Miu, I wonder if she points out her feminine side a lot out of the same type of insecurity. Really, it's very nuanced to have an idea like that, as she's proudly flaunting her feminine side while having a talent that's commonly associated with males in Japan, at least. I think it's a pretty neat detail, and honestly makes her a lot cooler in my opinion that she's proud of both sides to her, but it also makes me wonder if she exaggerates it because people make her feel like she has to, similar to Mikon and how she feels the need to sexualize herself to get attention from others. It's really sad idea because honestly Miu is a very intelligent character even though she's not wise. But I also could get behind the idea that she just loves to be vulgar and sexual because she just enjoys talking about sexual things in nature. There doesn't really have to be an in-depth reason for her to enjoy doing that. But I do like discussing ideas about her either way in regards to it. So I'm not positive if I found the correct way to translate this, so if anyone has a better explanation for it, please let me know since I had trouble looking for an accurate one, but Miu Iruma's name in kanji can roughly translate to human and rabbit-like, though some other translations look like they read as human and not rabbit-like, but I believe it's the former, since most of her design is rather rabbit-like with her hair, and she could give off a Playboy bunny type of personality with her not safe for work language, plus her photo after she dies has 3 X's, which is typically used to indicate something that has sensual content. Okay, so I just want to add a short, stupid idea for if she is an augmented human. I wonder if that's why she repeats stuff. Like, it would be funny to me if the reason sometimes she repeats words out of nowhere is from buffering or lagging or her machine acting up. I don't think it is, but still, especially with her name literally translating to human, if that is correct, we never see her brain or anything. For all we know, she could be partially robotic in her brain, at least, but still require oxygen and could still die of shock, which is a bit of an oversight. Which is why I don't think she's exactly augmented. Maybe she's OCD or has a tic that makes her do it. She does have delusions as well in some ways that make her seem more unstable than at first glance. Kinda yandere vibes if you do her events as well, also like Mikon. Miu basically says, hey, here, eat this pie, Saihara. I made it very special, and it also has my hair and my blood in it, so we're together. I don't know why I did that voice. And this is all because Shuichi doesn't want her to maim herself and shows strong concern for her well-being. I don't know. It all makes me think back to the idea of Fuka being bullied for her love of technology. Maybe the same thing happened to Miu, and as a result, she's rude to people before they can be rude to her. Also explains her wimpy behavior when someone yells at her and gets on to her. She develops attachment to Shuichi because he shows he doesn't want her to be hurt, and it makes her become a bit obsessive towards him, much like how she's normally obsessed with her inventions. I think Miu is also obsessed with creating things, even babies. Yes, babies. She gets so happy when Monotaro calls her mother that she's irrational. She's extremely happy, and she tells Shuichi in their hotel events that she wants a baby. It's a weird scene, but I think Miu's need for children is because someone will love her. Also, like Mikon, again, where they need attention. Only unlike Mikon, Miu wants loving attention, whereas Mikon, while I'm sure she wants to be loved, really just wants any kind of attention she can find. I want to repeat, I don't think everything was intentional, but I think it's something to think about. And there are so many Danganronpa characters who have so much depth that I wouldn't be shocked if there were some things that I mentioned that are intentional, rather, my bad. So Miu is seen as a very beloved character in the Danganronpa series. I don't see her near the top of many lists, and I have seen a few people rank her decently low, but from what I can tell, a lot of people really love her. She's one of those kinds of middle ground characters mostly because there's not much to her other than comic relief, and that's kind of okay. She honestly just leaves such a huge impact on me personally, and I think about a friend who saw V3 recently because I held him against his will and made him watch me play it. And he adored Miu, and when the third trial ended, he was so worried because at that point the characters he really didn't care about were gone, and he had a sinking feeling. And then he saw Miu die, and she and Gonto were his favorites leading up to it. And it showed me how impactful a death could be, even when it's expected, as that was my own experience as well. And for me, the comic relief being gone in particular in that trial was depressing. Miu is a special case where it's for the best of the story, but it hits harder and it works really well for said story. Whether you like the ending or not, even the trials leading up to it are amazing, and I feel that the fourth is by far one of the best of the whole series. Kadaka actually went on record saying that he doesn't like Miu and like that she was actually meant to be hated, and I think that's pretty interesting considering how much people adore her, honestly. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on her for the most part. This was kind of like very, I guess, not the typical way that I write things very much. It's a little bit out of order, mostly because I frankly don't even know what to call this video. I don't know that it's really an analysis or anything. It's mostly opinionated, and I think that's kind of the beauty of V3 is you can't really do a decent analysis unless you're Weeby News, who can make all the best analysis videos. But, you know, it's pretty difficult to do with this game in particular. But I hope everyone enjoyed regardless. If you're a huge Miu fan, that's awesome. If you don't like her, that's fine too, because everyone's opinion's valid. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and next video will be Miu Iruma, and I promise I am working on it, despite what the beginning sounds like. I have been in the works on it for a while, so don't worry. Until next time, goodbye.